Nothing. Coach, not often you get a break like this in the course of the regular season. What are you guys trying to do to maximize it, and what was the focus of practice today?
I think just balancing rest and working on the things that we need to work on in these last 4 games. It was a very competitive practice, getting our conditioning up again, working on things that we need to clean up for the games, our ball movement, defensive focus, locking in on these last couple games, understanding what we need to do. I think it was the focus today.
We heard from Dell and J.I. that you guys didn't want to put too much on the Atlanta game on Tuesday just yet, but with the 4 days off, how close is this to a normal playoff game prep, assuming that
Well, today was focused on us more than anything. The things that we need to clean up to where we're going to have to get better. Again, walking and talking about Atlanta over the next couple of days is going to be very important because you have the time in order to do it. They play a game ahead of ours, so being able to sit down and watch that game and then going back and watching our games against them previously is going to be something that's very necessary.
You sort of touched on the ball movement, but what are those things you think you guys need to work on still at this point in the season?
No, I think, what we've constantly talked about is just how can we play faster? How can we get the ball over half court by 21 and looking to push the pace to flatten defenses out. So now you're playing against closeouts versus set defenses. Just the ability to push the pace with each guy that's on the floor. When that ball hits your hands, you want to have a race to the rim first, and if you don't have it and the defense sets up against you, we got to move it side to side to shift the defense.
In the aspect of pace, how much do you think you guys have missed Jalen in that aspect?
That's always going to be the case. We could talk about that throughout the whole year, and I think what we tend and want to do is focus on the guys that are here now. And Jalen is a gigantic part of that, and him not being here, we recognize that as a reality. But the guys that have been in since then, we talk about over the last 5 games, you're top 10 in pace. So our ability to push the ball is available to whoever touches the floor.
Kind of going off of that, the defense has also kind of started to make an upward swing back to kind of the level that you guys are expecting. What's maybe changed or locked in on that end as the season comes to a close?
I just think it's the ebbs and flows of the season. Understanding probably sounds over and over again is just being able to play your best basketball now in March and April and I think we've done some of that. Now we've had our moments, but again in these last final four games, to be exact, what I said to the guys, it's like the Final Four. Being able to do this for the regular season, and then when you walk into that playing game, what are you trying to accomplish, and know if that you're fine-tuned at that moment.
What does it mean that you guys are in play now that you can't advance it is the play?
Well, I think I always go back to what are we doing, and I think it just goes back to focusing on us, and not knowing who we're going to play necessarily right away. It has to be a focus on us right now. Now the odds and say it could be Atlanta, it could be Chicago, it could be Miami. We have to focus on what we're doing, and then whenever we get the matchup, we'll be ready to go when that time happens.
Kind of on the defense again, Wendell's been switching a lot more on guards lately. How has he kind of taken on that challenge, and what does that bring to this defense to be able to have him stand out on guards?
So much versatility. I think just being able to stall other teams out to when they try to find isolation. There's not many things you can go at, because there's not many mismatches on this team. And being able to try to call a guy up to try to go at him, we have guys that can all sit down and guard. And I think Wendell, is a big prime example of that. Being able to guard 1 through 5, on any team.
You guys obviously can't change what's happened the rest of before now in this year, but since the All-Star break, you guys are 3-9 at home. How do you rectify that in these last 2 games? And,
I think you just said it. I think you just can't focus on what we have done in the past, but we got to focus on what we're doing moving forward. We got 2 more at home, 2 more on the road. Take care of home. I think that same concept and that same mindset has to be as we walk into it. Just take care of home, regardless of what has happened before. Focus on these next 2 coming up at home and take care of home.
Tomorrow, Osceola will host an Eastern Conference Finals game. How happy are you for the guys over there to see all their work pay off and end up in the Eastern Conference Finals?
I think it's big time. I really do. You talk about the chemistry and the camaraderie that group has built, that the togetherness that they have as a team. Also with our group being able to bounce guys back and forth, and the opportunity that they're getting in this moment. You're proud of Dylan and his coaching staff and what they've done. Kevin and his group and what they've done with putting guys together, and those guys are playing good basketball right now. All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Guys coming back here and having a few days, what was the focus? What were you guys attempting to do today in practice?
Really just get moving, get a lot of shots up. go up and down a little bit, offense, defense. Not necessarily really thinking heavily about Atlanta yet, but taking this day to just, tune ourselves.
How crucial are these days at this point in the season to have time off, get some practice? How much does this help you guys?
Yeah, huge. Kind of a blessing in disguise because, the way everything worked out. So we're enjoying it.
You guys have kind of found your defensive tune. I think back to like a 108, 109 defensive rating for the last several games. What's been the key to kind of getting the defense like back under control and back kind of focused on that?
I can't really pinpoint one thing. I think we just it's who we are. It's who we are, and like you said, we've had some fluctuation up and down, but I think everybody's settling down a little bit, and we're getting into what makes us a great team.
Do you feel like, I know you had those kind of big moments at the beginning of the fourth quarter in the last two games. Do you feel like you've kind of found your confidence to like be an impactor on defense after being kind of in and out of the rotation?
Yeah, for sure. It's what I do. So just getting continuing to get comfortable and do it.
I'm sure you guys are aware of the home and away splits since the All-Star break. You guys have been like 8-2 on the road, 3-9 at home. Just how do you guys get back to winning ways at home, especially with the next two games being so crucial for your seeding?
I don't honestly. It's not really even thinking about what has been. It's just we're gonna walk into tomorrow's game and play our best game, and you win or you lose. But we're focused, we're dialed in, and I think we're gonna win.
You mentioned tomorrow's game. Is it weird not having a game tomorrow?
Right, for sure. It is weird. Gonna take it to our advantage.
Tuesday.
Right.
Do you just knowing you have this kind of time off, and obviously like everyone else is playing, do you guys keep an eye on what a team like Atlanta is doing?
Yeah, for sure.
Teams?
Watching games last night, pay attention to everybody who's playing. It's just natural.
Do you actually use the L and R when you're putting those on, or just kind of know?
No, you usually. About the NBA sign being on the outside.
Gotta have that logo on the outside.
What was the focus today? Obviously, you don't get this many days off normally over the course of the NBA regular season, but what were you guys trying to accomplish today in practice?
More about us, just getting the mind, the body, the spirits all up. Everybody feeling good. Got a lot of shots up as a team. Touched on Atlanta a little bit. Knowing that's going to be our next game, but we got about three more days into that game, so we don't want to overwhelm anybody today. I'm assuming. So touched on them a little bit, but it was mainly about the Magic today.
The fact that you guys have played on Tuesday, how helpful is this? These days off, these couple practices at this point in the year specifically?
I think it's great. Knowing where we're at, what we have to face, we're going to be in the play-in. That means we're going to have extra games in order to get into the playoffs. Hopefully just one, but the rest, the recovery is always amazing. I feel like the teams that win are the most recovered. Plus the talent and playing hard, but I think recovery is a huge part of it. So I think it's good for us.
Just kind of knowing that Atlanta is the next game. I know you didn't touch on them maybe too much, but is it all does it feel like a kind of as close to a playoff game as you can get? Just knowing how important that game is.
Oh, absolutely. We went through this last year, right? In terms of wanting to have home court advantage, we understand that we played them two more times before the season ends, and more than likely we will be playing them. So I think it's a great test for us to understand that we want to pick up as many as these last four, so we have home court advantage going into the play-in. So I think we all have went through it quite literally, and some of us, guys like KCP, understand the meaning of having home court advantage in the playoffs.
Talking about home court and obviously the way that last year's playoffs went, you guys since the All-Star break are 3-9 at home, 8-2 on the road. How much concern? How do you balance the concern of not being able to find the results lately at home versus finding them on the road, and how do you kind of rectify that at home?
I think it's a good and bad thing in my opinion. You want to be able to pick up games on the road. That's the name of the game. Win as many games on the road as you can. We were phenomenal at home last year. We dropped some, but you also don't want to overreact. You know what I'm saying? You want to understand the significance of playing at home and understand you do need to win your home games. But we can only look forward from here. So these last four, we just got to make the most out of them going into the play-in.
We know how how defense is this team's identity. And it feels like, at least statistically, the defense has really started to pick up. What do you feel has like changed as maybe the focus gets sharper and narrower as we get closer to the end of the season?
I think it's just that us getting closer to the end of the season. It's to understand that we need to be hitting our peak now. I know we had a little bit of a lull, midway through the season in terms of our defensive rating. But we're one of the top defenses in the league. We're going to continue to get better on that end of the court. Like I said before, these last four and then going into the play-in and then the playoffs, we got to be phenomenal on the defensive end to give ourselves a shot.
There was a period where Jonathan was in and out of the rotation. Now he's been back in the last couple of games. He made some big defensive plays. Just it might sound obvious, but for him to be back and finding some momentum, what does that do for you guys to have him out on the floor defensively?
Ever since I got here, I knew Jay. I've known Jay before the league, but Jay is one of those guys. He's going to do whatever he can to help a team win. That's a guy you want on your team. You never have to worry about anything he's doing off the court. He's a phenomenal man on top of a teammate, and then on the court, like I said, he just plays hard. He does all the little things that might not show up in the stat sheet, and he's bought into that role for this team. And like I said, that's a guy you definitely want on your team.
For you, you have a lot of responsibilities defensively. You're switching out a lot more. Like, how have you taken on that challenge, and then how do you feel like you've kind of been performing as you kind of fine tune that strategy?
That's the beauty of the game, right? Continuing to challenge yourself. Being, like you said, switching out on guards, other forwards. I love the challenge. Whether I succeed or I fail, I just love being out there, going against some of the best, athletes in the world. You know what I'm saying? So, and like you were saying, it do take a little bit of practicing, understanding, watching film, understand the tendencies, understanding, certain guys like to step back going left rather than right. Guys like to try to foul bait, whatever the case may be. Understanding your opposition is really huge, especially when I'm switching on to these guys and potentially maybe guarding all 5 guys throughout the game.
Ron said on Thursday that you guys have been offensively better the last couple of weeks. Numbers would kind of support that. Just what does that look like for you and your role in the offense when you guys are maybe moving the ball a little bit better, just shots are falling? Just how does that kind of open that up in your game as well?
Just aggressiveness. I think sometimes we fall into being passive, going for myself, AB, who else? J.I. even. When we have our shots, we got to take them. It makes our team so much more dynamic on the offensive end. And I think that's the name of the game for us. We can continue just to stay confident, stay aggressive on the offensive end. It makes it easier for guys like Paulo and Franz, later on in games and things like that. When, someone may have 10, another guy has 15, everybody's feeling good. So, you get a shot, you're open, you feel confident, you're feeling good, no matter if it goes in or not. I think it's the confidence and the aggressiveness that matters the most.
Good deal.